If you ever wonder why the PC Engine has so many shoot 'em ups, it's a case of right place, right time. The end of the 1980s and the very early 90s were the peak of the shoot 'em ups dominance in arcades. The PC Engine's lifespan happened to just precisely overlap with that period, and so it got a ton of shooters. You see the same phenomenon in the early years of the Mega Drive, but that system wound up outliving the trend, and so later on they fade away. Daisenpuu was a shooter by one of the genre's masters, and they even ported it themselves. The original version of Daisenpuu reached arcades in 1989, and it was one of many collaborations between publisher Taito and developer Toaplan. You might think of it as a follow-up to Toaplan's Twin Cobra and Taito's Twin Eagle, since internationally Daisenpuu was called Twin Hawk. But really it's just that Taito liked using twin in the titles for arcade games that offered co-op play. The concept here is that at the end of World War II, when Japan was still fighting Italy, the Italian dictator Giovanni took over another country, and Japan sent in their ace flying squadron Daisenpuu to get him out. Daisenpuu means vast whirlwind in Japanese, so it's a reasonable name for a flying squadron. In the game, you're flying a Zero, the most notable of Japan's warplanes during World War II. It's not like it has a tight turning radius, though the game does include one aspect of the Zeros as a gameplay feature. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. One of the big gimmicks of Daisenpuu is that there are no stages. Okay, there are regional divisions, and there's very large enemies that you have to destroy to pass between those. The game smoothly connects everything together. Once you clear the last section, the game just loops back to the beginning with no interruption. In many ways, it's building on the shooters of the very early 80s that often did something like that. You've probably already noticed the real big selling point for Daisenpuu, and that's how, when you tap the bomb button once, you summon the rest of your squadron. 6 planes will fly up and fire when you fire, and they'll stay with you until they're shot down or you tap the bomb button again. Enemies will exclusively target your plane, so it's possible to keep the rest of your squadron flying with you for quite a while. If you can guide bullets into the gap between the 2 wings of fighter planes, then you can keep a lot of firepower going. If you tap the fire button again, then your buddies do the other thing that Zeros are known for. They crash their plane into their nearest target. Yes, you can sacrifice all of your friends in order to do a small amount of damage. And really, the reason you typically do this is because you're cleaning up the last couple of planes that are still flying before you summon a fresh group. Honestly, it makes Daisenpuu feel extra heartless as a video game. We're all used to mowing down the faceless hordes of enemies with no character to speak of, and it comes across a bit differently when you're ordering your friends to kill themselves so that you can replace them. If you don't want to engage with that game mechanic, you can also double tap the bomb button and it causes an explosion. A nice big explosion where you don't have to think about the consequences of your actions. There are a handful of power-ups. These appear when you destroy certain units. Not necessarily the trucks, but sometimes the trucks. There's really only 3 things you can get. The P will increase your firepower, and that means shooting more bullets forward. The H will give you 1 use of one of your bombs back. And then there's a little picture of a plane that gives you an extra life. And that is literally everything there is to playing Daisenpuu. It is a very, very simple shoot 'em up. That said, this was not the only time that Daisenpuu was released on the PC Engine. 1 year later, Toaplan and NEC would come back and release Daisen Pu Custom. The most obvious change that you're going to notice is that the music and sound effects have been greatly improved. As you play the game, though, you'll find that the bosses have been updated quite a bit, and the areas have been broken up into distinct stages. The rest of the game, however, is identical. Same power-ups, same use of your squadron mates to shield yourself. It's all pretty close. I think between the two, my preference is for the HuCard version. I think the music and sound effects in the CD version are kind of overwhelming. But which one you want really comes down to personal preference. In Japan, Daisenpuu is not well regarded at all. It's not hated, but the phrase I saw was essentially lesser Toaplan. People were calling it boring, though some of that was directed toward the original arcade version. I'm a bit less harsh on this one, though I think it is very simple for a shooter of this era. A lot of the fun here comes down to pulling out the Squadron and then blowing everything away with 7 planes at the same time. This isn't the most intense shoot 'em up, even later stages are pretty manageable, and having only one weapon for your plane is kind of flat. I wouldn't call Daisenpuu a must-play in its regular or custom form, but it's not a stinker either. It's just kinda in the middle there, good enough to play for a little while, but probably not strong enough to hold your attention for a long time.